This video series will discuss the EqualLogic SAN HeadQuarters product for Dell. Today we'll be talking about version 2 and higher. Dell's SAN HeadQuarters product is a centralized event and performance monitoring tool for the EqualLogic storage systems. SANHQ, as we call it, provides centralized event monitoring, historical performance reporting, alert views, trending and historical trending, rich data on different types of performance analytics like IOPS and latencies and so on. Today we'll discuss some of the new features with SAN HeadQuarters in version 2.2, as well as some of the existing features that you may not have been aware of. SAN HeadQuarters is bundled in a client-server type architecture. There's a monitoring service that runs on a server, and then there's a client app that can be installed on other systems in your data center to view SAN HeadQuarters from other areas around the data center or your company. The Windows service portion gathers data from the EqualLogic groups via SNMP. You can monitor one or more groups with SAN HeadQuarters. It stores data in a circular log file that's stored on the management server host. The client application can log into the monitor folder or the log folder on the Windows management server, read the log files from SAN HeadQuarters, and then report data off of the management service server. It can be installed on the same host as the management server or a different host, as I mentioned, and it can also be used offline with archive files produced by SAN HeadQuarters. Some of the new features in SANHQ version 2 and higher are comprehensive reports, and we'll talk more about those, new performance metrics, new types of performance analytics, including some experimental analytics, and we'll talk about those in much more detail. SAN HeadQuarters includes a comprehensive reporting structure in that you can define different reports that you'd like to pull from SANHQ on the storage group and storage environment that you're monitoring. Reports like capacity utilization and trending, thin provision volumes if you're using thin provisioning in your storage groups, replication information and reports, performance, host connection reports in terms of how many connections are you using in the EqualLogic SAN, hardware and firmware updates and information in that regard, as well as a top 10 which is definable by the user. And then there's also multi-group reporting or cross-group reporting capabilities for replication and the top 10 feature. SAN HeadQuarters enables comprehensive performance analytics. Some of these different performance views like I/O, combined graphs, you'll see more about these when we go into the demo. These can give users an idea of what the aggregate performance is across a group at that particular point in time or historically. It can show you baseline performance information. If you have an event that may have happened with the storage group, you can then analyze how it was running during baseline compared to, okay, what happened during this event. It has estimated maximum workload for the group, part of the experimental analysis piece. It also has busy IOPS chart, IOPS and average latency charts as well. And I'll be going through much more detail in a demo fashion of SAN HeadQuarters later on in this video. There's also a view for data activity and analysis, in particular support for the PS Series XVS product, which is a hybrid of spinning media and solid state media. This will show you the I/O load distribution between the two types of media that's running in that array, as well as the SSD space utilization, and can give you an idea of the percentage of the enhanced write cache that's currently integrated in the XVS PS Series array. There's a new section in SAN HeadQuarters called Experimental Analysis, and these are essentially theoretical views based on calculations on the current workload, current capacity, type of disks that are running, as well as the type of I/O workload in regards to I/O size, IOP, and through those numbers we can predict max I/O workload that could be applied to that particular group. There's also a view for a RAID evaluator. So for example, if you're running say RAID 50 today and you're thinking about, okay, what would it take to migrate to RAID 10 and would I really see a benefit, you can run the RAID evaluator to see how much benefit you'd gain by changing RAID types. And there's also a new view called Live View. In Live View you can select particular parameters that you want to run a polling interval that's much more rapid paced than the typical 2-minute polling interview of SAN HeadQuarters. SAN HeadQuarters is full of intelligent GUI navigation capabilities. Things like locking in a home page, as well as customizing a view of your own. In addition to that, there's space utilization capabilities for volumes, thin clone information, amount of space that thin clones may be using, and so on. So these are new capabilities that are built into the version 2 of SAN HeadQuarters. A real nice feature of SANHQ is the ability to select a particular range for an event that may have happened on the SAN. So for example, you can select a time range from point A to point B and then expand on that time range to drill down deeper to find out exactly what was going on the SAN at that particular point in time in terms of performance. And SANHQ, of course, has email notification, where you can set email notification for administrators on a particular group or all the groups that you're monitoring. And this will go out and it'll fetch information from the group that you're monitoring and then email these types of information to your administrators. You have control over which alerts you'd like to be notified for, and you can set these alerts inside the SANHQ interface. SANHQ is highly customizable. From a user perspective, if you like a particular view better than another view that might be available, you can select that view as your home page. You could also hide group information. You can set group sorting, and you can launch SANHQ client sessions with particular context. One new feature of version 2 of SAN HeadQuarters is the update notification feature. This will allow a user to go out and check for updates on products that Dell provides for the EqualLogic storage systems. It will also automatically notify you when a new either software rev has been released, a beta program, or a new hardware component has been available. Now I'd like to launch SAN HeadQuarters and show you exactly how and what the UI looks like and how it navigates, and then we can drill down into some of these new views and show you exactly what's going on from a user's perspective. So this is a version of SAN HeadQuarters. This particular version that I'm running here is version 2.2. It's in beta currently right now. What I'll do is I'll just drill down a little bit and go into a group that I have running here just to give you an overall look and feel of the interface. This is the top level of this group called Tech Market Lab, and it kind of gives you a summary of the IOPS that are being applied to this particular group, both read-write as well as inbound replication. It gives me a summary of the members of this particular group, the group firmware that's running, total volumes and disks, and so on and so forth. And this is sort of a snapshot of an overall group view. Now there's a lot of different things that I can do with this. For example, I can look in capacity, and this is total terabytes, volume reserve, snapshot reserve. There's also capacity views for inbound and outbound replication, and you can look into these and see which volumes are set for replication and how big the volumes are, the reported size, delegated space on the partner site, most recent replication operation, and the transfer size that has taken place at the last transfer operation. There's a combined graphs view, and this is probably the most useful view that an administrator would typically use as a snapshot. It shows average latency across the group, the I/O size, the IOPS that are being applied to the group, TPC retransmit number, which is very important to understand how your infrastructure is running, and that make sure those TPC retransmit percentages are less than 1%. If they're higher than that, by the way, there's something odd going on in your environment. If it's just a spike, there could have been a particular event that may have caused it. If it's sustained, then chances are there's something in the infrastructure from your server to your storage system that's causing these retransmit percentages. You can also look at the network megabyte and kilobyte per second numbers, average queue depth. It's a very useful view. There's a number of things that you can pull out of this view in regards to your storage environment and your performance. Now, events and audit logs. This is going to give you some events that have happened across your group. This particular group doesn't have any events at this particular point in time, but if there were, you would be able to see them, and you could view them and pull them up and find out what's going on in that group at that point in time. I can drill down into the hardware and firmware to take a look at my members that I'm running in this storage group, what they're running for firmware, which model of array these particular members are, the RAID, and so on. If I go a little bit further, I can look at my physical disks. You'll see here this particular member, LabRack 10, has a 10,000K RPM 300 gig SAS drives. If I continue to go down, you'll see as I change and move down the slider here, I have different arrays that are running here with different types of physical drives that are in them. The I/O area allows me to take a look at the different I/O profiles that are running on the SAN. For example, average I/O size, average IOPS, latency. It's very similar to the combined graphs view, but it also has the ability to see what my load distribution looks like. So for example, I can look at how much of this load is a high load or a medium load or low load in regards to the workload that's being applied to the SAN itself. In addition, in the I/O object are the live view, experimental analysis, and rate evaluator sections. The live view allows me to choose a couple of metrics in which I want to get near real-time performance numbers on. Experimental analysis view will give me what the estimated IOPS workload could be for this group. Again, that's based on the array members and the array type, the controller type, the firmware that's running on the arrays, the workload that's currently being applied to the SAN, and then based on those numbers, again, we can use a number of different algorithms to theoretically give you an idea of what you could possibly push for workload across this particular SAN. In addition to experimental analysis, we have the rate evaluator. So I'm currently running in RAID 50. So if I chose RAID 10, this will give me an idea of what my current estimated max IOPS are versus if I changed RAID types, what the evaluated max IOPS could be. And I could do that for the available RAIDs that are available to the PS Series SAN. iSCSI connections is the next object down. This gives me an idea of my connections to PS Series SAN, and it shows me what the host IP address is that's connected to the volume and connected to the SAN and how long it's been up. If I start to look inside the network object, this gives me an idea of my total iSCSI connections that are connected to the group, as well as the network load percentage. It gives me another view of TPC retransmit percentages and megabytes and kilobytes per second rate. I can drill down one more object level deeper and look at the individual ports of the arrays themselves. Now that's the overall look and feel of the UI. Now if I wanted to, for example, look at particular objects or time frame, maybe I want to look at something that happened between a point in time, so I can move the slider on the top over, and then I can select a range that may have happened from a 1 or 2 hour increment. So this is actually 2 hours and 42 minutes, but it allows me to look at a much more granular level and maybe choose an event that may have happened out on the SAN. In addition, I can do a historical trending, and this will load data and allow me to see how the SAN's been progressing over a period of a month or a period of 2 months. Now this is very dependent on how large you set the log file for SAN headquarters. If you take the defaults, you'll be able to go back for a 1 year period. Right above that scroll bar is the ability to show latest, show the last 1 hour, or 8 hours, or 1 day, 7 days, 30 days. So if I showed the last, for example, 8 hours, this would give me a snapshot of what's been going on in the SAN the last 8 hours. I could also choose to run some reports off from SANHQ. So if I click on the reports menu object here, I'll be able to run a configuration report, capacity report, thin provision report, or replication, so on. You can see the different objects and the different reporting structures I have here. Now these are useful if you need to essentially get a capacity report to maybe upper management because they're wondering how the SAN is trending capacity wise, and this will go out and it'll grab the data from the log file and it will parse this data into a report format that you can then email or give to your upper management when they ask for it. So SANHQ is a really good tool for monitoring your EqualLogic SANs. It's an excellent tool for debugging, creating a baseline, take a snapshot of your SAN when things are running good, and then if something bad happens, you can kind of drill into that particular event and figure out, okay, what happened to the SAN during this particular point in time. Did my latencies spike? Was there a dropped connection of maybe a network switch port or something like that I could have noticed by looking at the different network ports views from SANHQ? A number of different things could be available to you in the event that something does happen to your SAN and so on. It's also a great tool to use just for everyday monitoring of the SAN, just to trend and get an idea of how things are happening historically across the SAN. With that said, thank you for viewing this video series on SAN headquarters. If you have any questions, please contact your Dell account rep. SAN headquarters is a tool that's available to EqualLogic customers at no additional charge. All you need is a support contract, and you can download it from the equallogic.com support site. Thank you and have a great day.